Hey guys, it's Biggs. Matt Aquarist again. I got another quick little thing we're going to do here today with my friend Dan. The real reason we came here today is Dan is very, very well known for the animals he keeps in a very small group of people. And behind this door, he has some really cool stuff that you will never ever see normally in a private collection. And I'm going to bring Dan up, and Dan will show us and give us a little quick tour.
Sure, so before we get going, this is my venomous room. So in here I have a bunch of venomous snakes, but before we get into that, I just want to point out that not everyone is able to or necessarily should be able to keep venomous snakes. So there are some significant safety implications involved with keeping animals that have a potential or a real impact on humans' health and safety. So from my perspective, what I do is I make sure that everyone inside is in the cage. The cages have locks on them, and this door prevents anything that gets out of the cages from leaving the room, or prevents people that are in this room from accidentally entering this room. So it just happens that this is a steel shutter door. I have it locked, and then inside the room I also have a Wi-Fi video camera that gives me access to a screen so I can see if anyone is out inside the room before I enter. I also have hooks and tongs on the outside to make sure that if there is something going on the inside, I have my tools available here before I go in. And then there's also a set of tools inside the room if I need them.
Yeah. And you also have binders for every single animal that you have.
Yeah, so one of the things that's worth noting is here in Canada, specifically, it's not legal to hold your own antivenom. It's a registered drug. Not cool.
I know that well.
So,
and it's very expensive should you have an accident.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you know, we talk about people that go bankrupt in the US that after they've been bitten by a venomous snake. So some antivenoms can cost, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 a vial. But if suddenly you need 30 or 40 vials, the cost starts to shoot right up. So while I don't hold antivenom, I do have protocols for everybody. So the protocol covers what kind of venom the snake has, what kind of antivenom is needed, what kind of medical treatment is needed for the different types of venom that the different snakes have.
And those are in place that basically that travels with you. Should any emergency ever happen, that travels with you, that is given to the medical staff to help maybe in a situation where you might not be able to tell them.
Exactly.
That gives them everything about exactly everything that happened.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So the other thing that this does is because, frankly, if I was a paramedic, I wouldn't necessarily trust a binder that some random kid gave me telling them what to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always the best thing to do. But what it does is, along with that information, it provides contact information for doctors in the medical field that have experience and education specifically related to venom and venom bites. So like in the US, Dan Keys, for example, and it also has numbers for places that hold anti-venom.
And what people don't realize is that when we talk about venom, they think venom is just venom. It's just poison, or it's not poison, it's venom. It's injected and it does things. They're not all created equal. Right. Everyone hears about the famous ones like the cobras and the mambas and stuff like that, and but every venom has different types of proteins, and some are hemotoxic and some are neurotoxic.
Right.
And that's all in your protocols, because if they administer the wrong thing at the wrong time. All right, Dan, give us a quick tour.
Sure.
Show us your cute room of death.
Just bear in mind, if anything's out, just don't touch it. Obviously, we know that nothing is out.
Noted. One thing that Dan, we just wanted to point out in the video beforehand is that most of the locks off the cages we took off just to make it a little bit easier that we could showcase the animals once we're in the room. But normally they would all have their individual locks on the cages.
And so I will actually show you this lock here. So the lock itself stops the door opening, stops the snake coming out, but it's really only just a little piece of metal here that's been folded, and so it stops any accidental entry or exit. So we can start at this end, I guess.
You have a primary focus though in snakes.
Well, we slowly roll.
Okay.
We'll do the odd stuff, right? So these guys are Western Diamondback rattlesnakes, southern US, and kind of noisy. So Western Diamondbacks found in the southern US, found pretty much all over the US. Obviously, in some areas where they're not, but Noisy critters, for sure. I got one here that's about 6 feet. The other two are a little bit smaller, between 3 and 6. That's the big girl there in the corner. These guys are just coming out of their winter sort of period, so they haven't been eating overly heavily.
Brumation? Is that what they call it? Brumation? Yeah.
But now they're going to start to pick up a lot quicker. It's breeding season here, so I'll change out the substrate for something that accepts humidity, and we'll start to...
Oh, so the paper's not in there for them to entertain them and read.
Well, it gives them something to do over winter, you know.
Traps here. Go ahead.
So these guys aren't venomous, but my main focus is an Asian genus from the Gloydius family. So one of the things I like to do is look at the bigger areas that the animals that I focus on are from. And one of those areas is China, Japan, sort of that northeastern Asia kind of area. And so these guys are a species of Lycodon or Dynodon, depending on what your taxonomic flavor is today. They're really neat snakes.
They look like any of the Asian rat snakes. The head shape's a little bit different.
Angry as all hell, so I'll just keep this lid on hand. But super quick, super fun.
Non-venomous though.
Non-venomous, but they're called Lycodon because of their dentition. So essentially they have big ass teeth, and so the Lycodon refers to wolf. And so that's what it comes down to. When these things bite
Genus
you,
I've never heard of.
when these things bite you, the mechanical damage is that last one. But this is a full adult, so you can see how big this one
Holy
actually
smokes.
gets. And so suddenly, big teeth on this starts to mean significant bloodshedding if it connects when it bites.
I'm sure you've been bitten by it.
Unfortunately, yes. Playing games, thinking I was clever, which comes down to actually a really important point. People get bitten by venomous snakes for one reason only: complacency. And so if you just for 1 second take your eye off the ball, stop concentrating, it's all over, because you'll never be quicker than these snakes are.
Yep, that's true.
End of everything. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, see, I never kept anything outside of crotalids. No, that's not true. I did have some Asian temple vipers, wranglers, and I did have schneglii, and then the gaboons. That's the only thing I had kept that was outside of crotalids.
Most of my stuff is it's viperids. We'll do one of the cobras later, but so this rack of cages here is the Gloydius species. So,
why them? What got you into them? Like, you know, there's got to be a reason. It's not like they're flashy or something. There's got to be a reason that specific genus caught your attention.
Yeah, they're small. They're varied. They're relatively easy. They don't give me a lot of stress and heartache.
Yeah, they're not like racers or, you know, lightning quick. And
no, and so they're just fun. But also they're primarily diurnal. So, I mean, we've been hanging around in here for a bit, so a lot of them have sort of moved off out the way. But typically when I come in here during the day, everyone's out cruising and just doing their thing. And it's more enjoyable for me to see a snake in something like this, cruising and enjoying life, than something on newspaper or paper towel like I have these guys.
But a lot of people, even when they get into a pet snake, they'll get a ball python thinking it's a great pet. And they'll take it home and set it up in this beautiful environment, and they'll never ever see it unless they physically take it out and handle it.
These house snakes that I have here, I never see them.
Yeah.
You know, like
so you own a Rubbermaid.
Yeah, so and they don't necessarily appreciate having a bigger enclosure. I've only had these a couple months, so they're still relatively, like, quarantine, I guess is the wrong term, but I keep them on paper just so I can see if there's anything special going on.
Yep.
Internally or whatever.
You see their waste products and see if there's any issues and stuff. It's a good way, and that's also like what you do when you get new snakes for quarantine. You know.
Right, and so this one actually, funnily enough, down at the bottom here, this is a Gloydius viper, but you can see it's on paper because this is one of the recent ones that I've had in, and so
you can see him hiding there. Probably can't see him really in the pictures, but I see him hiding underneath
the back. In that far corner, you can see it pretty well. And so this one here, that's Gloydius assyriensis. They all have roughly the same common name of Ouchy. Like, the problem is that there isn't a lot of
Which
research.
translates from that language to Ouchy?
Yeah, probably. Or lots of Ouchy, I guess. I mean, one of the species, when it bites you, we talked about difference in venom. And so the medical recommendation in the literature is ablation. So they recommend cutting the flesh away surgically to prevent further damage. So Ouchy probably pretty much sums it up.
Good name.
So this one's a melanistic Assyriensis. She's different because obviously she's melanistic. I do have a regular. Oh, he's right there.
So this type of snake is neurotoxic primarily, or is it also hemotoxic?
We're not actually sure.
Okay.
So funnily enough, I'm just in the process of this week. I'm collecting venom from everybody,
Okay.
sending it off down to the US in a collab with.
Now, this is not normally a commonly kept group, so there's probably not a lot of research being done on them.
So we're doing some research with the University of Colorado, essentially, to look at the venom and figure out, what's going on. So this one is a black Assyriensis, and then if you can look on this corner here, I don't know if you can see them in there. So that's what a regular Assyriensis looks like.
Doesn't really show up much in the video. It's got reflections and stuff, but it's
really...
good. I don't want to put my hand in.
No, I'm not gonna. let's not do that. And so this one here, these are.
I see them right at the back there.
So there's one at the back there. She has a bit of a mouth issue going on right now. She has a retained fang that's kind of propping her mouth open a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to deal with that when I collect the venom. I'm actually going to make sure she's okay.
I remember back when I was keeping snakes and stuff, I never fed any of the snakes in the cage to risk the thing like impaction and stuff like that. They could get their prey source and then they get a little chunk of wood chip stuck up in their gum line or something like that, and that would cause the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you feed them in their natural environments?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And a lot of these cages, it's not truly bioactive, but a lot of these cages have extra bugs and critters in there, so...
it's truly a natural setup for them. It'll decompose and break down waste products and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I open this up here, you can see like the isopods and stuff that are kicking around, these little bugs, and you can see them.
Delicious.
So this is my sort of spare colony. You can see the little critters running around over here.
So this is just to kind of seed the soil in your cages.
Yeah, and you can see that what I feed them is, that was a pinky, I think. Look, you can see a little skull of a mouse there. And then there's snake skin. And so they essentially, when the snakes shed, I leave them in the enclosure for a little bit to feed what's in there.
Yeah.
But then I also take it out and put it in these seeding colonies to feed these guys. And then if anyone runs low, I just...
When I was keeping the crotalids, I was keeping on a fairly big scale and stuff. So the thing I was doing is I was always using as quick and easy to clean type the cages and stuff. And nobody was really doing this natural type things.
Yeah.
And I don't even think the zoos really understood what it was doing. They were just setting up natural habitats, but they weren't really looking at it as to set it that way. They were doing it only for aesthetics.
Right, and it's one of those things that it started early and then it faded off and then it kind of comes back and now it's kind of socially acceptable to do it again kind of deal. So yeah, we have a couple of different species of Gloydius there and there. Then we have the Kindlingensis here. So he's probably my favorite. He's at the back there. I'm just going to open this up but you can get a better shot of him at the back.
Keep the thumb out of the way.
He's right at the back, you good. So he's probably my favorite. So he's Gloydius kindlingensis. We're not really sure if he's kindlingensis. There's a designation that he is, but the literature is in Chinese, and I'm struggling to learn Chinese right now.
Such an easy language to learn, I'm sure, in our middle years.
And so he came in a shipment with this one here. And so male and female, this is the female, is the same thing. She's clearly not the same. I think she's...
so you're basically saying you don't just rush down to your local pet store and just, choose your pet snake.
No.
These are not readily available. You have to go through a lot of effort to actually find one of these and bring them into the country.
Yeah, these were specifically sourced from China and Hong Kong specifically for me, because I'm special.
You have to deal with all the paperwork for importing, etc.
So Canada's lovely in that importing stuff that isn't CITES isn't so much a big deal. It's the exporting from the country that often requires all the paperwork stuff.
And one thing of note is you live in an area that's rural. Yeah. And make sure that if you ever do decide to keep reptiles or venomous snakes or anything like that, is make sure that you check your local regulations and your bylaws and stuff in your area where you are, and make sure that you're doing things correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
Correctly and safely, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you.
Well, and that's it. I mean, you don't want to screw it up for everybody because you are selfish and wanted to keep a rattlesnake. Sure, you might be doing it safely, but if you get caught and you're breaking the rules, everybody is going to suffer as a
Exactly.
result. So this guy here is a different species of Dynodon. He might bite me, but it's not the end of the world. Or Dynodon or Lycodon. As you can see, this one's kind of red and stripy kind of deal. I quite like this little critter.
This would be like, is this what you're talking about, like the house snakes? Is that what you're talking about?
No, this is so that one, those two up there that I
Yes,
showed you.
okay.
They're the Dynodon or Lycodons or whatever.
Yeah, the non-venomous one.
Yeah, and so this is the different species. So that one, the first one was Semicarinatus, and this one is Rufozanatum, something like that. Rufozanatum. I always confuse that last, the actual species. And so super neat little snake. Also big ass teeth because of that genus. So I'm just going to put this back. Now the reason I showed you that is because
I bet he loves his castle.
yeah, you know, I have this guy who works for a company that sells fish stuff, so I tend to get a lot of fish stuff. And fish stuff transfers well to herb stuff.
Yep.
So
It's resin, so it's easy to keep clean, and it serves the same purpose.
bingo.
Yep.
And we talked about those the fake rock wall stuff that I make
Yep.
too. And so what I typically do is I take somebody else's hard work and effort when they make a resin thing, and I put it into my fake rock wall, and it makes my wall look better because
Yep.
I put other stuff in there. So yeah, so that one, that's Rufozanatum. And so the special thing I wanted to show you, so this is exactly the same species, obviously younger, but completely different in appearance.
Yeah.
So this is about 6 months old right now.
Now
eating-
we're sure it's the same species, and that means
Yeah.
that this thing
For sure, it's
changes its patterning as it ages.
It's a morph. It'll look this way as it matures. It's a different morph.
Oh, okay. So almost like what they're doing with corn snakes and stuff like that.
Very much. This is kind of like the Chinese version.
But this is natural.
This is Asian. Yeah, I mean, well, define natural.
I mean, like this was wild harvester, or was this captive bred?
This was food market.
Oh,
So a lot of this particular species are
food market.
So when you buy, if you go to any of these big reptile shows and they have Asian species, whether it's Dynodon or Mandarin rat snakes or Frenata, Prasina, whatever the Asian rat snake is, the chances are it's come from the food market.
So when I go to the grocery store, my wife has not put snake on the grocery list as of yet.
Well, and let's hope it stays off. But I'm told some of them taste really good. And so this one is exactly the same species again, but you can see completely different pattern.
Have you ever tried snake, eaten snake yourself?
I've eaten rattler, yeah.
Yeah, I've eaten rattlesnake as well. And
it was-
iguana and stuff.
yeah.
And
Meh.
everyone says they all taste like chicken. They pretty much do. They just have a different consistency.
The only thing I've eaten that tasted really different was dog, but that was an accident.
Local restaurant,
Downtown,
rescue shelter.
Downtown Afghanistan, actually. So all the first two there were different colours and patterns, but this one is a completely different morph even. So this one's anathoristic, so black and white.
That one's sharp.
Right?
That's sharp. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, so I kind of like these things. Like I say, they're essentially Asian corns, and you can see, like, he didn't eat, but that's part of his diet plan is a piece of tail.
Yep. Still has the same scent.
Chasing tail.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're kind of neat. I do have a corn snake.
We don't want to see him.
It's scaleless.
All right.
Some people like scaleless stuff, some don't.
So it's going to look like a worm, is what you're saying. And you need a hook to get the corn snake.
She's food oriented.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to bleed right now.
Scaleless corn snake.
Yeah, some like them, some
I
don't.
can honestly tell you, I've never even heard of such a thing.
Some think they're an abomination, some don't mind them. Don't chew on me. Come
Just a regular corn snake, like a laugh. Is that what the genus is? A laugh?
on. It's Pantherophis right now, but
Oh, so this is an Asian rat snake.
no, no. Elaf no longer exists.
Okay,
Yeah, Pantherophis apparently wants to sit in his basket.
that's fine.
Yeah, so it's Pantherophis was changed a while ago.
That is weird looking.
Frank Burbrink changed it. Not sure if I agree. Not sure I don't, to be honest. Frank's way cooler than I am, so I'm just going to sit back and smile.
That is just weird looking. How the skin on all the turns just wrinkles.
Yeah, and
I
so
don't really know how I
like
feel about all that.
scales underneath, So ventral scales. On the head there are a couple scales. I don't know if you can see, but like there are a couple scales on the back and the neck there.
Yeah.
If you want to touch it, you're welcome to. Like it
doesn't bother me to touch it.
Well, it feels a bit like you're holding on to somebody else's.
We know we're going at.
So
we'll move along.
Yeah, I'll leave that there. I won't ask you to touch it again. Yeah, so I mean, kind of neat. I quite like it. It's something different. There may be issues with the scales because there's.
That's been line bred, and it's just a genetic mutation that came out and then just capitalized on it.
Yeah, exactly.
They do that in the fish all the time too. So
there is scientific literature to suggest that scales have sensory perception abilities, and so not having scales may cause some kind of sensory deficit. I haven't witnessed anything. I've seen no problems with it. It doesn't have any problems shedding. It feels weird when it sheds.
It would shed easy because there's nothing to stop it from shedding. It'd come off like taking off a sock.
Yeah, so I don't know. But it's just kind of cool.
That was cool. What are you doing, Dan?
New video animation. I'm just getting the female western out.
And you would do that why?
Typically for cleaning. So it's not usually advisable to house three snakes up high, but these three snakes are pretty easy to manipulate. They're not usually super aggressive.
And their reach isn't as long as the height of that garbage can is. So
agreed. So yeah. I can use them, and I can. So typically, what I do is if I'm cleaning by myself, I'll pull them out, drop them into the garbage can. This is a fancy one.
It's got a locking lid.
Yeah, so you put the lid on and then you twist it and it locks up.
So even if you were to trip and it would trip up on your foot or something like that and it tips over, you don't have rattlesnakes around your feet.
Yeah, they're just going to be angry and not angry on me. Yeah.
Cool. That out for the garbage man just like that, for a surprise.
So the trick to opening it is never to assume that the snake is in the bottom, because my luck is the snake wouldn't be in the bottom. So a big girl like this, you should never sit her on one hook.
Yep.
Because it will damage her rib cage. She doesn't have, there'd be too much pressure, on the ribs. So I typically use two hooks. And
this is where Dan puts his snakes when they're bad. This is like snake jail.
This is the advantage of building things for other animals, knowing that if you build it securely, they can't get out of that either. Okay, I'll just grab a douche bag.
So, this is the female Crotalus atrox, the beautiful western diamond rattlesnake. Dan has gone and what we call tubed her, so she's completely safe. Anybody can handle this as long as you've got a good firm grip here. To keep the animal safely within the tube. The snake cannot back up, can only go forward. So if I had a loose grip, she might go a little bit forward, and once she gets to the edge, then the danger end comes out again. But the skin is very, very dry, smooth on the bottom, nice big belly scales. This is one of the females. This isn't the really aggressive, angry female that we saw in there. This is the one that has the shorter set of buttons. You can hear the tail. And with every button, is every single time they shed, they get a new button added to their thing. So this one's lost, obviously, several of their buttons.
Yeah, there's a couple.
How old would you say she is?
This is for her 4th season, so she's 4.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
This makes me miss them.
Right? I mean, and see, she's super chill. She's really calm. She's not a problem. Some of them, like the other female, can be a bit angry. With them being venomous, you don't handle them a lot, as much as like the corn snake.
I never needed to handle them except for doing what you're doing. Put them into the buckets.
Right, and so the most handling I ever do is in a tube, so they never really get real socialization kind of deal. So a lot of the venomous stuff is always just angry because it's scared, and it's a defense mechanism.
I always loved the Crotalids and stuff. Their faces always looked angry. They had the heat sensing pits, so a lot of them hunted at night. Just really, really cool animals. Thank you, Dan.
No worries.